The night began with a nervous stillness that seemed to cling to the stage like fog. Backstage, the contestants stood shoulder to shoulder, some pacing, others silent, all aware that this moment could change everything. For them, Britain's Got Talent was not just a show but a final gamble, a leap taken after years of doubt, sacrifice, and quiet dreams whispered in empty rooms. When their names were called, they stepped forward into the glare of the lights, hearts pounding, knowing that one mistake could end the journey before it truly began. As the music started, uncertainty melted into motion. The performance unfolded with raw intensity, each movement charged with emotion and purpose. It was clear that this was not rehearsed perfection alone but lived experience poured onto the stage. Every step, every note, carried the weight of long nights, family sacrifices, and moments when giving up would have been easier. The audience leaned in, sensing that something special was happening, something honest. Even the judges, often guarded and critical, watched closely, their expressions shifting from curiosity to intrigue. Midway through the act, a brief falter made the room hold its breath. Time seemed to slow, and for a split second, it felt like everything might unravel. But instead of collapsing under pressure, the performers pushed harder, drawing strength from one another. That recovery, more than flawless technique, ignited the crowd. Applause broke out before the act even ended, growing louder with each passing second. By the final note, the theater erupted. People rose to their feet, clapping, cheering, some with tears in their eyes. The first standing ovation came not from obligation, but from genuine awe. When silence finally returned, it was filled with anticipation. The judges spoke of bravery, of risk, of seeing not just talent but heart. One called it a reminder of why the show exists at all, another praised the courage it took to stand there and bare their souls. The performers listened, trembling, hardly daring to believe what they were hearing. The verdict sent them through to the next round, and as they left the stage, disbelief turned into joy. Backstage hugs were tighter, tears flowed freely, and for the first time, their dream felt real. Episode 2 opened with the consequences of that moment. Overnight, their lives had shifted. Messages poured in from strangers offering support, from old friends who had once doubted them, from family members watching with pride. Yet with opportunity came pressure. Expectations were higher now, and the fear of disappointing everyone loomed large. Rehearsals became more intense, mistakes more frustrating. Doubt crept back in during quiet moments, asking whether they could ever top what they had already done. On the day of the next performance, the atmosphere was different. Confidence battled nerves, experience clashed with fear. As they stepped onto the stage again, they knew this time the audience was watching closely, measuring them against their own success. The performance was bolder, more refined, yet still deeply emotional. It showed growth, not by losing vulnerability, but by embracing it more fully. The crowd responded with thunderous applause, recognizing the evolution. By the end of episode 2, it was clear that this journey was no longer just about winning a competition. It had become a testament to what happens when people risk everything for a single moment of truth. Whether or not they would take the final prize no longer seemed as important as the standing ovation they had earned by daring to believe in themselves when it mattered most. Episode 3 opened with the weight of expectation hanging heavier than ever. The contestants could feel it in every rehearsal, in every glance exchanged before stepping on stage. What had once been a daring leap into the unknown was now a measured walk across a tightrope, with thousands watching and judging every move. They knew that one weak moment could undo the magic they had already created, yet they also understood that fear could not be allowed to control them. This round demanded not only talent, but maturity, discipline, and emotional strength. As the performance began, there was a noticeable shift in their presence. They carried themselves with a quiet confidence earned through struggle. The choreography was sharper, the timing more precise, but what truly set the act apart was the emotional depth. It felt as though they were telling a story not just to the audience, but to themselves, confronting the doubts that had followed them from the beginning. Each beat landed with intention, drawing the judges and crowd into a shared experience that felt intimate despite the size of the theater. When the final moment arrived, the reaction was immediate and overwhelming. The audience rose again, not in surprise this time, but in recognition. The applause rolled like thunder, filling the space with validation. The judges' comments reflected that shift. They spoke about growth, about how difficult it is to return after a breakout moment and still deliver something authentic. Praise was tempered with constructive criticism, reminders that the competition was tightening and that consistency would be key. The contestants listened carefully, aware that admiration alone would not carry them forward. Episode 4 pushed them into unfamiliar territory. The format demanded reinvention, a riskier approach that tested their versatility. For the first time, disagreements emerged within the group. Creative differences sparked tension, and exhaustion made tempers shorter. Behind the scenes, doubts resurfaced. Was changing their style a mistake? Would the audience accept a new version of them, or were they abandoning what had made people fall in love with them in the first place? On stage, that internal struggle translated into a performance that was daring and unexpected. The opening surprised the audience, breaking from what they were known for, and for a brief moment the reaction was uncertain. Then the pieces began to fall into place. The risk paid off as the act built momentum, blending innovation with the emotional core that had defined them from the start. It wasn't perfect, but it was bold, and the audience responded to the courage behind it. The judges' feedback was mixed but fair. One praised the ambition and willingness to evolve, calling it the mark of true artists. Another questioned whether the risk had come too soon, suggesting refinement rather than reinvention. The tension during the results was almost unbearable. When their names were finally called, relief washed over them. They had survived another round, not by playing it safe, but by trusting their instincts. By the end of episode 4, the journey had clearly transformed them. They were no longer just hopeful contestants chasing a dream, but performers learning what it truly means to stand in the spotlight. Each standing ovation, each critique, had shaped them, teaching resilience and humility. Whatever lay ahead, they had already proven that risking everything was not a one-time act, but a choice they were willing to make again and again for the chance to be truly seen.